the ghostly guardian. The old manor house on Ravenswood Lane had always been a subject of fascination for the locals. Set far back from the road and surrounded by dense woods, it was a looming relic of a bygone era, with cracked stone walls, ivy-covered turrets, and tall, narrow windows that seemed to stare out like watchful eyes. People whispered about the strange occurrences that had plagued its previous owners, but for all its foreboding presence, the house was now home to the Halstead family. When my family moved into Ravenswood Manor, I was 8 years old. My parents, excited by the chance to escape the noise of city life, dismissed the warnings of the townsfolk as superstitious nonsense. To them, the creaking floors and drafty halls were simply signs of the house's age, not evidence of anything supernatural. But I knew better. From the moment we stepped inside, I felt the weight of the house settle over me, a tangible presence that seemed to breathe with the creaks of the floorboards. The air was heavy, carrying the faint scent of lavender and something metallic like old blood. The first incident happened within a week. My father, working late into the night in his study, heard faint whispers behind him. Turning around, he saw nothing but the flickering shadows cast by the fireplace. Yet, when he turned back to his desk, his papers had been rearranged, spelling out the word leave. At first, my parents chalked it up to coincidence. The wind, my mother said, though her voice wavered. My father dismissed it as exhaustion. But the incidents didn't stop. Doors opened and closed on their own, often with such force that the sound echoed through the entire house. Objects moved inexplicably, cups left on the counter would appear in the sink, photographs on the walls would tilt or fall. And then there were the whispers. Soft and distant at first, they grew louder at night, filling the halls with a cacophony of unintelligible voices. Sometimes I thought I heard my name among them, called in a voice both familiar and foreign. It wasn't long before we began to see her. The first sighting was mine. Late one night, I woke to find my bedroom door ajar. Moonlight spilled into the hall, casting a silvery glow. Standing at the end of the hallway was a woman, her figure translucent and shimmering. She was dressed in a long, flowing gown, her hair cascading around her shoulders like a waterfall of shadows. She didn't speak or move, only stood there, her hollow eyes fixed on me. Frozen in fear, I couldn't even scream. When I finally mustered the courage to blink, she was gone. The next morning, I told my parents what I'd seen, but they dismissed it as a bad dream. "Just your imagination, sweetheart," my mother said, though her hands trembled as she brushed my hair. But the woman wasn't a figment of my imagination. She made herself known to all of us, appearing in the corners of our vision, her presence always accompanied by the faint scent of lavender. We named her Eliza, after finding an old portrait in the attic. The painting depicted a beautiful woman in a white gown, standing in front of Ravenswood Manor. The plaque at the bottom read, "Lady Eliza Ravenswood, 1872. The whispers and movements became part of our daily lives, an ever-present reminder that we were not alone. Yet, for all her ghostly appearances, Eliza never harmed us. In fact, there were times when her presence felt protective. One winter night, a fire broke out in the kitchen. The flames spread quickly and the smoke alarms, old and unreliable, failed to go off. My mother, asleep upstairs, didn't notice until it was too late. But before the fire could consume the house, a loud banging erupted on her bedroom door, startling her awake. When she opened the door, she saw no one, but the scent of lavender lingered in the air. Rushing downstairs, she was able to extinguish the flames before they caused too much damage. It wasn't the last time Eliza saved us. When my younger brother, Jamie, wandered too close to the pond behind the house, a sudden gust of wind knocked him off balance. He fell into the icy water, too shocked to cry out. I wasn't there to see it, but Jamie swore he felt hands, cold and firm, pulling him to the surface and dragging him to the shore. "She saved me," he whispered later, his lips blue and trembling. The lady in white. Despite her interventions, the townsfolk continued to warn us about Ravenswood Manor. They spoke of curses and tragedies, of families torn apart by unseen forces. But we were determined to stay, convinced that Eliza meant us no harm. It wasn't until I found the diary in the attic that we began to understand the truth. The leather-bound journal, brittle with age, belonged to Lady Eliza herself. Its pages detailed a life of sorrow and betrayal. She had been married to Lord Benjamin Ravenswood, a man of cruel temperament who hid his malice behind a facade of charm. Eliza's entries grew darker with each passing day, recounting the horrors she endured within the walls of the manor. She spoke of screams echoing in the night, of shadows that moved without cause, and of a growing sense of dread that consumed her. The final entry was a chilling confession. "He plans to end my life, to trap me here forever. If you find this, know that I will not let him win. I will protect this house and all who seek refuge within it. I will be their guardian even in death." The weight of her words settled over us like a shroud. Eliza's spirit wasn't bound to the manor out of malice, but out of a fierce determination to protect those who called it home. But not all spirits were as benevolent as Eliza. One night, the whispers grew louder, their tones darker and more menacing. Shadows twisted and stretched along the walls, forming shapes that didn't belong to us. The air grew colder, and the scent of lavender was replaced by something acrid and foul. Eliza appeared in the center of the room, her form brighter and more defined than ever before. She raised her hand and the shadows recoiled, their shapes dissipating like smoke. "This house is mine to protect," she said, her voice resonating with a power that sent shivers down my spine. The shadows retreated, their presence lingering at the edges of the room. From that night on, the manor was quieter, as if Eliza had banished whatever dark force had threatened us. Years have passed since we left Ravenswood Manor, but I often think of Eliza. Her spirit, bound by tragedy, found purpose in protecting us. She was more than a ghost. She was a guardian watching over us with unwavering resolve. And though I no longer live within the walls of that ancient house, I can still feel her presence sometimes, a faint scent of lavender, a whisper in the wind. Eliza remains with us, a silent protector, forever guarding those she considers her own.